now to the Daily Rant, Cenk Uygur.
The Republican Party keeps saying, hey, you know what? We care a lot about the deficits. We don't want to do deficit spending. That's simply not true. What they care a lot more about, which we're going to prove with the numbers here, is protecting the rich. So, for example, they want to do a $678 billion giveaway to the top 2% of the country, and they say that does not have to be paid for. So when you look at the deficit, that blows a giant hole in the deficit and in the budget. And actually, when you look at the numbers overall, the number one problem with our deficit is tax cuts that Bush started. Number two problem is the wars. That costs the second most amount of money. The third biggest problem is the economic downturn, also caused by the Republicans. And then you get to TARP, which is also the Republicans. And then finally, you get to stimulus spending, which you can argue either way. So you see where the great majority of the money goes to, and it's the tax cuts and to war. Now, when you talk about war, for example, the Republicans say, again, throughout the entire Bush years, does not have to be paid for, and we spent $1 trillion in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Now, what does have to be paid for? Well, that's, you know, the lower income and the middle income people in the country, well, they got to pay. So $34 billion in unemployment, the Republicans say, no, you got to pay for that. $10 billion to avoid teacher layoffs, well, you got to pay for that, and that got voted down. $5 billion for low-income college students so they can get an education, improve the economy. Nope, you got to pay for that. And then $1 billion for summer jobs, you got to pay for that. But the one thing you definitely don't ever have to pay for is tax cuts for the richest people in America, and that's exactly what the Republican Party stands for.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that assessment in terms of the Republicans creating a lot of this, all of it, really. I just take issue with the suggestion that the Democrats haven't openly and willingly perpetuated almost everything you just criticized the Republicans for doing. Am I wrong in that?
I hear you. No. I hear you on that, Dylan. Let me say yes and no to that. Okay, yes in terms of, for example, Kent Conrad, Ben Nelson, guys who claim to be fiscal conservatives, came out and said the same exact thing. Evan Bayh, as a Republican, saying, no, don't touch the tax cuts for the rich. The top 2% have to get their $678 billion, which, by the way, is 20 times the size of the unemployment benefits that they held up for people who were laid off because of the recession started by the Republicans and the conservative Democrats. Now, having said that, look, there are some progressive Democrats. The Republican Party is wholly owned by the rich, defense contractors, and corporate interests.
That is not true, because there are libertarian conservatives who are not part of that sort of military industrial rich person cabal that you're referring to. I'm not denying its existence, but I think sure as there are progressives inside of the Democratic Party that would want to end the corruption of Democratic leadership, that there is evidence of what I would say more libertarian leading Republicans who similarly would agree with you, quite honestly.
Nope. I largely disagree with that because, look, I can name progressive senators that you know are not in favor of any of these policies, tax cuts for the rich, the military-industrial complex, etc. Bernie Sanders, Al Franken, Russ Feingold, and the list goes on and on. When you go to the Republican side, yes, you have some congressmen like Ron Paul who are not in favor of the defense contractors. But when you talk about tax cuts for the rich, they are all on board, all of them.
I also noticed all the Democrats are on board for, speaking of, it's not tax cuts for the rich, it's just multi-trillion-dollar giveaways for the rich on the banking front. Again, I'm not here to defend the Republicans. I'm just here to indict the Democrats for being almost as weaselly and evil as the Republicans. But we can...
and I hear you on that. I hear you on that, and I don't want to minimize what the Democrats do. And a lot of times they pretend they're for change and then they don't give it to you. So that they got a lot of issues. But I don't want to set up a false equivalency because one side... you know what you're getting, and that's always going to be for the rich. The other side, it's more of an open question. If you go for progressive Democrats, well, then they actually do fight for the people from time to time.
Yeah.